this was the week where one of the first hearings under the newly Republican-led Congress has been about the Hunter Biden story and whether or not his laptop holding secret information about whether or not that was suppressed by the company Twitter back when it wasn't owned by the richest man on earth. And yes, this is the priority under Republican leadership for these committees. And that committee, one of the committees is the House Oversight Committee. And they're digging deep, y'all. And actually, there is someone on that committee who, thank God, is bringing us back down to earth. And that is Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who basically effortlessly just crucified this attempt at like pure partisanship politics, pure like big tech is, suppressing my voice, et cetera, all the bullshit that Republicans are talking about. She crucified it in this, in her statement here, in her line of questioning. And I just want to play some of it. We'll stop down, Eliza, and talk about it occasionally. But here she is starting off AOC.
Right here at the top here, this isn't even my line of questioning, but I'd like to submit to the record a Washington Post article now warning about Hunter Biden laptop disinformation, the guy who leaked it. Here's the deal. Before I even get into my questions, I think that the story here with the Washington Post reporting is that what they're saying right here, when the New York Post first reported in October 2020 that it had obtained contents of a laptop computer allegedly owned by Joe Biden's son Hunter, there was an immediate roadblock faced by other news outlets that hoped to corroborate reporting, as many did. The newspaper wasn't sharing what it obtained. New York Post had this alleged information and was trying to publish it without any corroboration, without any backup information. They were trying to publish it to Twitter. Twitter did not let them, and now they were upset. I believe that political operatives who sought to inject explosive disinformation with the Washington Post couldn't get away with it. And now they're livid. And they want the ability to do it again. They want the ability to inject this again. So they've dragged a social media platform here in Congress. They're weaponizing the use of this committee so that they can do it again. A whole hearing about a 24-hour hiccup in a right-wing political operation. That is why we are here right now.
A whole hearing about a 24-hour hiccup in a right-wing political operation. That line is brilliant. So here she is, the preamble to her line of questioning, which is effectively entering into the record this Washington Post article, not to be confused with the New York Post, the one who originally had this story, to say the reason there was this hold on the story was because no other news outlet could corroborate it. No one else was like, okay, so they held it for a moment, and then it was published anyway. And then people jumped onto it. I don't know if it's now or later, but we all know that like the guy who was repairing the laptop was like, yeah, this is a non-story. This is nothing. This doesn't exist. This, and like I've seen his dick, not that amazing. All right, well let me continue to play.
And it's just an abuse of public resources, an abuse of public time. We could be talking about healthcare. We could be talking about bringing down the cost of prescription drugs. We could be talking about abortion rights, civil rights, voting rights. But instead, we're talking about Hunter Biden's half-fake laptop story. I mean, this is an embarrassment. But I'll go into it. Ms. Navarrete, let's talk about something real. I'd like to show you a tweet posted by former President Trump about my colleagues and I on July 14, 2019. It says in part, quote, "Why don't they go back and help fix the totally broken and crime-infested places from which they came? Then come back and show us how it's done. These places need your help badly. You can't leave fast enough. I'm sure that Nancy Pelosi would be very happy as quickly to work out free travel arrangements." A day or two after that, Donald Trump publicly incited, violence at a rally, targeting 4 congresswomen, including myself, saying, "Go back to where you came from." Ms. Navarrete, as I understand it, you were the most senior member of Twitter's content moderation team, or a senior member of Twitter's content moderation team when this was posted. As part of your responsibilities, did you review this tweet?
Yes, it was my team's responsibility to review these tweets.
And what did you conclude?
My team, Ray, made the recommendation that for the first time, we find Donald Trump in violation of Twitter's policies and use the public interest interstitial.
For the first time.
Yes.
And at the time, Twitter's policy included a specific example when it came to banned abuse against immigrants, as they specifically included the phrase, go back to your country or go back to where you came from, correct?
Yes, that was specifically included in the content moderation guidance as an example.
You brought this up to the Vice President of Trust and Safety, Del Harvey, correct?
I did, yes.
And she overrode your assessment, didn't she?
Yes, she did.
And something interesting happened after she overrode your assessment. A day or two later, Twitter seemed to have changed their policies, didn't they?
Yes, that trope, go back to where you came from, was removed from the content moderation guidance as an example.
So Twitter changed their own policy after the president violated it in order to potentially accommodate his tweet?
Yes.
Thank you.
There we go. So that is just so perfect. Just a set them up, knock them down example of how Twitter, first of all, this is 2019, y'all. You think Donald Trump wasn't inciting violence and through his rhetoric before 2019 on Twitter? So it took that tweet of go back to where you came from to be the straw that broke the camel's back. And what happened? She recommends, hey, you should take this down because it violates our policies of saying go back to where you came from. So her supervisor said, nope, it doesn't. And then a couple days later, fucking changed the policy. The right has a victim complex that is absolutely not real. I mean, it's so clear. Eliza, I don't know if you remember that moment where he said that go back to where you came from, that whole shebang.
I don't, but I mean, I saw this, and he said so many fucked up things. It's just, I think that we have crossed over into a world where politics and the news are just sports center now. It's just like WWF. It's like pick a team and root for it. Don't care about actual policies, actual news items and events that don't have to do with politicians. It's not going to get us anywhere, but I don't see any way to change it. It's sorry.
No, yeah, and what sucks is that this is social media is very I would say I could characterize it naively as like a conduit for those political teams, and that kind of thing. And it's supposed to, Twitter is ideally supposed to keep people safe, not just completely allow stories that are false.
These are policies that should benefit everybody.
Yes.
It's not like, oh, well, that's some woke left policy. Like, no, these are just policies that, if applied to everyone, make everybody's experience a little bit more streamlined, but they all get attributed to one side or another, and then everything is a point for some team.
Right, exactly. Rather than
instead
like, hey,
of
how
like
about
helping
we don't do
everybody.
Death threats all around. But that's,
Yeah.
Of course, that's like when you're actually, the other side is good faith. The other side cares about keeping people safe. And AOC ends this hearing in her time speaking more specifically about an account that has been allowed to thrive and exist on the current Twitter. Here we go.
So much for bias against right wing on Twitter. Additionally, Ms. Navaroli, are you familiar with the account Libs of TikTok?
I have heard of it from the news, yes.
Mr. Roth, are you familiar with this account?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Are you aware that from August 11th to August 16th, that account posted false information about Boston Children's Hospital, claiming that they were providing hysterectomies to children?
Yes, I am aware of that and other claims from the account.
And are you aware that this lie was then circulated by other prominent far-right influencers?
Yes.
And are you aware that all these claims, which I have reiterated were false, culminated in a real-life harassment and ultimately a bomb threat to the Boston Children's Hospital?
Yes, I am aware.
And this account is still on that platform today, isn't it?
Regrettably, yes, it is.
despite inspiring a bomb threat due to the right-wing incitement of violence against trans Americans in this country, because they cannot let go of this obsession with fixating violence and inciting violence against trans and LGBT people, in addition to immigrants, in addition to women of color. This is a party that cannot pick on anyone their own size. And they are trying to co-opt an entire social media platform and use the power of this committee and of Congress in order to pursue a political agenda.
So it's just so perfectly crystal clear the way she puts it. And I just want to say those two tweets, the incitement of violence now and the incitement of violence then, they were under different Twitter leadership, right? Jack was in charge of Twitter, or not Jack, but whatever. Jack squared, the new Jack. And remember, Trump didn't get kicked off of Twitter until when? Until the Capitol riots, until the insurrection on January 6th. Because you take down that tweet that's like, go back to where you came from, it'll keep people safe. But man, your engagement is going to go down. And who wants that? We want more engagement.
Yeah, it's a perfect example of what I was saying, that a policy like no lies presented as facts on this website is a policy that protects everybody. It shouldn't have to be a politicized one side versus the other type of thing. Like, that makes everybody safer. But people have chosen to support making themselves less safe to try to make a cudgel out of these things to hurt someone else.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
absolutely. Because when your bread and butter is lies, then you don't want to have fact checkers. Then you don't want to have any intermediaries. And meanwhile, Elon Musk sitting with Rupert Murdoch at the Super Bowl. What's going on, Frantifa? If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that button. And also, you can become a patron and support the show every single week. Get access to bonus episodes and exclusive merchandise. Patreon.com/Bitchuation Room. Do it.